Welcome to BS with Writers. This is Nancy Smay from Evident Inc., and I am so happy that you're joining me here again today. If you're watching this on video, I apologize. This is the portion of the podcast where I pop in and share some pertinent personal news, often post-gym with no makeup on and my hair not done because honestly, who has time to shower? So today we are going to be talking to USA Today bestseller and Amazon bestselling author Sylvie Stewart, who is not related to me, but she is related to my pen names, evidently. We talk about that. We talk about her extensive use of curse words. So this is an safe for work NSFW episode, at least auditorially. Neither one of us takes our clothes off, so you're safe there. But I do hope that you will enjoy it. Before we get to that, just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Delancey Stewart / Nancy Stewart publishing world. It's exciting, as always. So kind of a lot, actually. I will tell you a couple of things. Number one, I have been yammering about my cozy mystery. It's done, which, done is a relative term. I have finished drafting. And there are certain things that still need to be added, like the recipes. There are going to be recipes, one of which has a relationship to my pen name Stewart, because it is my great grandmother's icebox cookie recipe. And I do not think it's a family secret of any kind. It's pretty darn simple, but it is the recipe that my great grandmother taught me how to make up at our cabin in Sequoia. It's the one that my mom has always made. And it is super simple, but my character, Dahlia Vale, makes it in the very beginning of the first Salt Cliff on the Sea mystery. And so it is the first recipe that I will be sharing there. There will be a couple other ones that I'm excited about, especially because I've never written a recipe before in my entire life. So this is going to involve some baking and tasting and trying. And to complicate matters further, I live at 6,500 feet. So anything that works at my altitude may not work at yours. It'll be interesting, to say the least, especially since Salt Cliff on the Sea, which is where the books are set, which is pretty much Carmel by the Sea, is at sea level, obviously. So that's just a whole other can of worms, but that is how I live my life, just digging through cans of worms. God, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? Anyway, so that's going on. I have actually started the next hockey rom-com in my Wilcox Wombat series as Delancey. However, it's going to be published. Should I announce this? I'm 99% sure. I'm going to publish it on Vella at first, at least. And I have a lot of reasons behind that, one of which is mental. I have actually been publishing on Vella as Delia Stewart, one of my many alter egos, because I really like the idea of episodic writing and serialized fiction. Part of that is because of my background in English lit, I guess, and the whole Dickensian mystique of serial publication. I love the soap opera idea that, like, I don't know, there's something kind of freeing as a writer about the idea of writing without really knowing where you're going, which is kind of how I write anyway. I do have the whole paranormal series that I'm writing as Delia plotted out section by section. So every time I sit down to write an episode, which is twice a week, I know what I need to write. But what I love about it is that I can kind of go in all kinds of different directions and make all these subplots and just get as crazy as I want because there's no end date. I can just keep writing forever. How exciting. I do not plan to keep writing forever, and I do actually think I know where I'm going, but I love that freedom. When you have a publishing schedule, like, my giant calendar on the wall there, it's kind of relaxing to just be able to write some words for the fun of writing some words. And so I'm letting myself have some fun. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. It is in addition to my other publishing schedule, which is a little bit aggressive because I want to get 3 mysteries out before the end of the year. And as you know, that's new for me, so they take a little bit longer than my romances. And I'd love to get another Wombats book out as well, because let's be honest, that's what pays the bills right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I actually don't have a Wombats book on the schedule, which may or may not change. I've been having a lot of mindset conversations with myself and other people, trying to think about what's realistic from a time management perspective, because I spend so many hours beating myself up about not spending so many hours writing. I left a full-time job last year and was just sure that I would then write for 8 to 10 hours a day. And there have been so many awesome things about managing my own schedule. I still do some freelancing for the marketing and brand identity company that I was working with, because I love brand work. But I really have so much freedom. And it's amazing how that time fills itself with, doctor's appointments and kids' doctor's appointments and the dog needing a walk and my car needing to do whatever. I mean, always something. So I'm looking for strategies to fence out certain amounts of time. I'm trying to decide what is realistic to, I don't want to use the word force myself, but to dedicate writing time. When I was working full time, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would spend 1 hour and I would write whatever I was writing. And I wasn't even awake for it, so I don't know if it went well or not. About 30 books came out of that schedule, and I wrote fast. So I would, by the time I got home from work at the end of the day, I would often be like, oh my God, I wrote 3,000 words this morning and I didn't even remember. Like, what are they about? Are they any good? And that subconscious state I was basically in that early in the morning made for really decent writing, because I wasn't editorializing. I wasn't questioning myself. I was just getting the words down. So that is what I need to figure out, how to continue doing that without the pressure that I had that forced me to do that before. So I may need to actually fabricate some pressure, because it seems like I work better when I have deadlines and less time in general. People used to ask me a lot, how in the world do you have time to do that? And the fact was that I didn't, but it was important to me. And so I sacrificed television at night and sleep sometimes in the morning. And 30 books happened. So it can happen, I guess. And I just, because I'm kind of in a new phase of my life, not having to go to an office or clock in somewhere or log in somewhere and be present for a certain amount of time every day, I think I've been like kind of wallowing around in that, like enjoying the freedom. And now it's time to be like, okay, that's great. It's not going anywhere. So now figure out how to use it to your advantage instead of just taking naps, which I love a nap. But anyway, so I've gone on long enough. I would love to hear your thoughts about any of the above: time management strategies, Vela, serial writing in general, episodic fiction, cozy mystery. And that's it. Let's get into the episode. I would love for you to hear Sylvie Stewart. And don't forget, if you're at work, headphones are a great idea for this episode. I'll talk to you soon. So Sylvie Stewart, my long lost cousin.
I know, right?
Not really, but I do have 2 pen names that end in Stewart. Is it your real name?
Stewart is my real last name, but Sylvie's not my real first name.
Fair. Okay. Well,
Very tricky.
no surprise, Delancey is not my real first name.
I remember when I asked you that one time, and you're like, "What do you?"
You ever met another Delancey?
Well, there was that movie from the '80s, Crossing Delancey.
Right?
And that was like one of my favorite movies.
It was a TV show, wasn't it? Or was it a movie?
Oh, I thought it was definitely a movie, but maybe there was a TV show too.
I feel like there was, but I don't know. I never watched it.
Oh.
No, but Stewart was my grandfather's name. So, and he was like, my mom never met him. He was shot down over France during World War II. He was a bomber pilot.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah, and so he had, I guess, obviously been home recently. And so my mother was born, I think 2 weeks before he was killed. And so he knew that he knew about her and that he had a daughter, but she never got to meet him. So he became kind of like a family icon in a way.
Yeah.
You know, when you die young,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter what you were like. Everyone that way.
Well, let's assume he was a great guy.
I think he probably was. I mean, we were related, and I'm great, so no.
Right, exactly. No, Stewart's actually my husband's last name, so it's my married name.
Okay.
But no, I it's not Sylvie's not my first name, but people always call me all sorts of different names. They hardly ever call me by my real first name. So it's one of the things that people mistake my name as all the time. So,
Okay, sure. Well, and so do you have just the one pen name?
I do. I mean I've toyed with the idea of another pen name, but I can hardly keep up with this one. So
Yeah,
just
I know. Plus,
where it is for now.
yeah, I get it. And if you think about like, well, I'll have to start social media accounts and make another
Oh,
website, and
oh God. Oh, that's enough to give me hives.
yeah, I know.
Social media, social media cranks my anxiety to an 11. Like I cannot stand going on social media, but I mean you have to. It's part of part of the gig.
Yeah,
So
it really is. Um, all right. Well, okay. So we kind of skipped the whole introduction because I got going on the whole Stewart thing. So we're just going to do some BSing here today, and my thinking behind this whole podcast concept is that my favorite thing is just talking to other writers and kind of hearing how they do the things and
yeah.
see if I can like weasel out what is the key to success, because surely someone else knows what it is.
Oh, well, then tell me when you find out.
No, that's why you're here. So you do not have to tell us the key to success, but I do want to dive a little bit into what has your career looked like? How did you start? We're going to go through just a bunch of questions and just kind of chat and see where it takes us. So
Yeah, sure.
tell,
Sure.
kind of give me the 10-second elevator pitch. Who are you? What do you write?
Okay, well, I'm Sylvie Stewart. I write contemporary, steamy rom-com mostly. And I've been writing I've been published for 8 years, and I'm a USA Today best-selling author and Amazon Top 100 author and award-winning author.
Cool.
And I enjoy romance. I enjoy lighthearted stuff, but I also like a little bit of a tearjerker in there too. So
Okay.
I like to mix it up a little bit.
And have you always written romance? Is that where you started?
No, I've only published romance, but
Interesting.
I used to. I've been writing since I was a little kid. Um, I was positive I was going to write like some women's fiction, very profound novel that would remain obscure, of course, but
We had this same dream, except mine, of course, would be on Oprah and Reese Witherspoon would talk about it.
no, but I'm for more fluffy stuff. I, ever since I got my first email from a reader saying that my book made her day, I'm like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do, because that feeling is great when you can cheer somebody up. I had this woman put me in tears at a signing. She said that my Carolina Connections series, for some reason, I don't know why, that it got her through her divorce. And I was like, are you serious? That is crazy pants.
Yeah.
But she was like really emotional about it. And I'm thinking, geez, that is such a nice feeling that you can do that for somebody, you know?
Without realizing that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like I just, I sit in this little room with this little computer and just like come up with little stupid ideas that I write down and publish. And to think
She did that. Wouldn't that be hilarious? Oh,
Yes. So,
I mean, who
well,
knew? Who knew? Who knew fart jokes could get somebody through a divorce?
right? Well, so did you, like you said, you've been writing since you were little. Did you grow up saying this is the career I'm going to approach?
No. When I was little, when I was in grade school, I wanted to be a teacher. My parents are both teachers, so I just kind of thought that's what I would do.
Me too.
And I was always like that little nerd at school, who was like needed the teacher to love her.
Yes.
I was, I was so annoying. I was unbearable.
We really are related.
But no, then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to college, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. My sophomore year, I'm like, I got to pick something. And so I decided to go into film production of all things. I don't know why. I mean, I loved. I was obsessed with movies. I worked at a video store, in high school, and I was like, always that person's like, oh, that movie is so stupid. You need to watch something more intellectual, and just honestly, so.
Did you watch a lot of foreign films?
Oh my god! I like if it didn't have subtitles. Oh, please, it's not worth my time. I was so obnoxious. And so I was like, okay, I'll go into film production. But then I realized, yeah, I don't really want to, like, I never wanted to be like a big shot. I never wanted to be clawing for success. And I don't know. That never appealed to me. So I was like, well, crap, what do I do now? And so then I ended up going to grad school for graphic design because I've always loved any kind of art, and I've always loved uh, any like art and design and all that kind of thing. So I got my master's in graphic design, worked in marketing and design for a while, and then had kids. Oh, we got married, and then we had trouble having kids, and my job was really stressful, and we thought, well, maybe that was why. And so I quit my job so that we could get pregnant. I know it sounds crazy.
No,
Uh,
I've heard that lots of times.
yeah, but and then I was freelancing, which was more fun and a little more relaxed. Um, but then we got pregnant with twins. So,
When it rains, it pours.
good God. My husband and I were so stupid too. We're like, oh, well, as soon as they're a couple months old, then you can go back to work and you can get like a part-time job and blah, blah. And oh my God, we were so stupid because, yeah.
I told my husband, because I was freelancing, because he was in the military, so we moved a lot, and so it was very hard to hold a real job for very long because they knew I was going to move. So I didn't even try for a little while when we were moving a lot. But that's when I was having, or no, I guess I had the first, and he was like 3 months old when we moved there. And I was like, well, don't worry. I can still do all the work I've been doing because I was freelancing a lot. And I said, he'll just, I'll put him on a blanket behind me while I work and he'll play and it'll be fine. No, turns out kids aren't like that.
Well, and then, I mean, I was, and still, I was under this illusion that, oh, no, it'll be great. I'll just get a job that'll fit in. But especially when you have, I wasn't in a high paying industry. And so when you have twins like that, and we had therapists and doctor's appointments like constantly because they both had issues. And it's like, nobody's going to hire you.
Yeah.
Well, I need to have off whenever I need off.
Yeah.
Can you hire me? Like, no.
Pay me a lot if you can.
Yeah. Right. So that's actually how I ended up publishing because then when they went to school, I was like, oh, okay, now I could get a job. Like maybe I can get a job at a school so that then I could kind of keep the same schedule.
Right.
But they have, summers and vacations and all that kind of stuff. Well, of course, every other mother was thinking the same thing. So there were no jobs. And so I was like, you know what? And I'm like, the kids were at school and I'm like dusting off my old manuscripts, just being like, I should try romance because it's my favorite thing to read. And I'm in such a kind of I was already in the phase of not wanting to read anything too serious. And so I'm like, I think I'll just try writing romance. And it ended up being really fun.
Well, so what did that look like when you first published? Because that was 8 years ago, you said. So
I
what was different?
I didn't tell anybody that I was doing it. I told no one.
Your husband even?
No, I didn't tell him until it was done.
Okay.
Yeah. I made the mistake of not researching how to self-publish before I self-published. I just was like, oh, you can self-publish on Amazon. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wrote when the kids were at school, and I wrote the first book in like 6 weeks, maybe. Which now that's fast for me. Like
Okay.
I'm slow now.
Is that book still for sale?
It is.
That's
It's
impressive.
terrible, but it's terrible. But for some strange reason, like I always get people coming up to me saying, "Oh, it's my favorite." I'm like, you know why I think that is though? Because it was very much like it was half autobiographical. So I think it really resonates with some people, with some women who are young moms.
Oh yeah, if you
Or
captured some
who
of
were
that.
young moms.
Yeah.
Because the main character has a lot in common with the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, so you're kind of still I think writing super relatable characters.
Yes, yeah, we're writing the Hot Flash Hookup series. Me and Marika Ray, yeah, that actually is really funny how that came about because I had been in chat groups with, I think Marika was in one of the chat groups I was in where I was like railing on about menopause and how it was like destroying my life. And, and I had been to a signing where I was talking to some other authors about it in person. And I had said, they were all like, well, you've got to write a book with menopausal character. And that, not just that she's menopausal, but that's part of the actual story.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I've got to do that. I've got to do that. And then Marika happened to have something awful happen to her with her perimenopause. And she she was texting me and she's like, oh my God, have you had this? This is driving me absolutely crazy. Blah, blah, blah. And she goes, we should write a menopause series or something. I said, well, actually, I've been plotting out a menopause already. Like I've been plotting out what I wrote. She's like, have you really? Oh my God, we've got to do this. And so when we first started, it was just the idea of menopause. But then we're like, okay, we've got to hook people in with something else. And we're like, oh, I know, hot hockey players.
What's obvious right now? Hockey.
Because it's so popular right now, So.
Is yeah. It's so funny. I told her, I just talked to her a couple days ago, and I was like, so is this sort of a strategy of yours? You only co-write with people who have the last name Stewart. She was like, yes, that's.
I know, right?
Yes. But so how is that going? How do you do it? What does your co-writing look like?
Say straight off that when it comes to like the self-editing part at the end, I annoy the crap out of Marika. Because I'm like I'm a total overthinker, and I'm like, well, what if they take it this way? What if the reader thinks this is what we mean? Do you think maybe we should rephrase it like this? And she's like, oh my God, it is fine. But she's very tolerant of me. But no, we start out with a phone call. I'm sure it's very similar to what you guys did. We start out with a phone call where we talk about what we want to accomplish with it, like what our tropes are going to be, what our basic plots, who our characters are, what the basic plot's going to be.
Yeah.
We kind of get an idea of the book. We don't plot the whole thing out, though. I mean, I can't plot a whole book out.
Me neither.
The characters do what they want to do. I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So we kind of work it out a little bit on the phone, and then we'll let it percolate a little bit. We each have a character, so we'll like kind of develop that character and write out what that character's goals and wounds and their character arc is going to be. and then we have another phone call where we work out like, okay, here's the first 5 chapters. This is going to happen in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter, and then we
That's smart. Yeah.
and then we just go and we write.
How do you actually write? Are you using a Google Doc?
She writes right into the Google Doc. She's fast. Oh, I am so jealous of her. I have to write in a Word doc, and then I have to think about it, and then reread it, and then think about it, and then I paste it into the Google Doc.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, she's like, "Okay, my chapter's done." I'm kidding.
You're in the same time zone, so is it like one day is her day, one day is your day, or just however many days it takes?
You know, we kind of have gotten into a rhythm where we each do 2 chapters a week, so 4 chapters a week. And
Yeah.
that kind of works out because then it gives us like a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
And but she's no, and then we'll post a chapter and then text the other person my chapter's up, and then the other person will be like, "Oh, I'm going to read it right now."
Isn't that so fun? Because it's like your book, but you're getting help. Like somebody else has like put in a whole chapter, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is great."
Well, and also, you know, like you have in your head, okay, this is what's going to happen, but then the other person takes it, like, and doesn't totally change it, but does it in their own way, and you're like, oh my god, that's so much better than I was thinking, you know. So
This is why the idea of AI writing books doesn't worry me, because
yeah,
it's that human factor that like you cannot reproduce that or fake it.
yeah.
Like, the way that you're going to do it and the way I'm going to do it are going to be completely different and both wonderful. And I don't think AI is going to make it wonderful. I think it would be the thing that you expect.
Agree. I agree, and especially, oh my gosh, especially for rom-com. I mean, AI cannot do sarcasm, and sarcasm is like the heart. Any good rom-com.
That and walking in on someone naked. I mean,
right. I mean,
two must-haves. Yeah.
Yeah.
We because we're in different time zones, when we were in a rhythm, we would sometimes get like 2 chapters a day because she would do hers. Like I write early in the morning and she writes in the afternoon, I think. And so I would put mine up, she would read it, hers would go up, and the next morning I would read hers and write mine, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. They went so
how fast did you finish those books?
Fast. Like a couple weeks, like 3 weeks maybe.
What?
Because we were both do them while we were writing other things. So it was like a fun side project. But my own books don't go that fast. Like it was only, we got this momentum. It was really cool.
Oh my God. No, she and I took like 4 months for a book.
But I mean, it's different chemistry. So,
yeah.
And I'm not saying ours were great.
Fun.
Fun.
I actually just downloaded one of them. I'm part of my menopause problem is that I can't focus on anything. And so I haven't been able to sit down and read a book in like 4 years, which is painful. I mean, I have read a book, but it's painful. Like I have to.
Can you listen to them like while you walk or do housework or something?
Yeah, I can listen to audiobooks.
That's good.
That's helpful. But like I can't just like, I used to sit down and read a book and just like read it in one sitting. I would just sit there and not move, and I would just like devour.
Yeah.
And I would read a book a day. I mean, that was not unusual. Wow. And now I'm like, oh my God, it takes me like a month and a half to read a book.
Can you sit still and watch TV, or is that the same thing?
Yeah, no, I can. But I'm always doing something else too while I'm doing, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I do too.
And
but that's a guilt thing for me.
Oh, well, I'm just disorganized and unfocused. That's pretty much my MO.
That's probably not accurate, but
I was going to say that I just downloaded one of your guys' co-writes.
Well, they're very fun.
Yeah.
We don't pretend that they're the very serious women's fiction that we were talking about at the beginning.
Oh, good Lord. I don't think that, no. I don't think any of our books can qualify as the serious women's fiction.
It's really funny, though, because when you said that, like, that is exactly what stopped me from writing for so long. I always knew I wanted to write books, even as a little kid, but I thought, you know, I would have to be the next Fitzgerald, or I guess I should pick a woman. But, and so because I had that in my head that it had to be a really important book. And my mom was an English teacher, and she, like, when I was a little kid, she was like, you should read the Alexandrian Quartet. It's like, what? I want to read The Wizard of Oz. So she was always like pushing these very esoteric literary books on me. So I was an English lit major so that I could talk with my mom about Beowulf. And
Oh gosh.
so I came out of college like, well, I can't just write whatever. I have to have a stunning, world changing idea. And
Oh.
that stopped me for years and years and years. And then I started editing romance and I was like, wait a minute. I
Like,
could do
I can do this.
totally. So I know that you are not a plotter because we talked about that. So when you're conceptualizing your own book, how do you start? Where does the idea come from, and how do you make those first moves towards turning it into a book?
Um, well, what's interesting? I tend, I have a hard time letting characters go. So side characters always end up to be the main characters in my other books. It
Which
just always happens that way.
is then
Um,
your readers kind of know that they're going to see them again. That's neat.
yeah, yeah. So I already know something about the character, generally speaking. Um, but the times that I have just come up with a new character, every time I come up with a new character out of the blue, really. I mean, because one character might be familiar, but the other one's not.
Sure.
Um, but it's usually just what I think would be a challenge for the other person. I don't want two people who are too similar. And I'll try to pick people who can kind of complete each other. Oh, wow. How Jerry Maguire of me. Um, but for ideas come to me all the time, everywhere. My notes app on my phone is filled with new book idea. Filled. I mean, I've got like 100 of them in there.
Does
And
it make sense when you look at them again? Because I'll go back into mine and be like, because I'll dictate them too, so sometimes they aren't even spelled right, and I'll be
yeah.
like, what the hell was I thinking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, dude, I have typed like 3 paragraph long descriptions of what this great book is going to be when I'm drunk, and then I read it the next day, and I'm like, what kind of bullshit is this? Oh my god! Like, who wrote this? It's insane.
I have those ideas too. I have those ideas too. They seem so good.
But I get a lot of lines that my male characters deliver are directly from my husband.
So is he super witty and silly?
He's he's the funniest person I've ever met. He's ridiculously funny and like totally dry.
Yeah.
Um, but he's also super annoying because he knows he's funny, and so if you don't respond the way he wants you to his jokes, he's like, "God, you used to be fun."
You're like, yeah, but I'm used to this now.
I had to remind you of something the other day. And now some shit he says is just so stupid that it's funny. Um, like he went on and on and on about how guys have these conversations about what superpower would you want, and he takes these things very seriously. Like you can't just give him an answer; you have to like really think about it. And so he had this theory that the best superpower would be the ability to make any other person shit their pants at will. And I was like, what the F are you talking about? I'm like, you couldn't pick like flying or invisibility. He's like, no, hear me out. He said, think about it. You can, if somebody's saying something you don't like, make them shit their pants. They go away. If there's a world leader who's destroying the world and they're in front of a microphone and you make them shit their pants, they lose credibility right away. That's it. If some guy is hitting on a girl that you want to hit on, make him shit his pants. Like there's no situation in which shitting the pants will make anybody win. So you can win everything by making other people shit their pants.
It's a much
And
more real world superpower than like
no,
Superman's because
I know.
you don't often have to lift a car or like, save someone from a burning building, but there are all kinds of situations where you want someone to like, you know, get
Yeah,
lost.
I forgot to ask. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Million.
You have a conversation without using the F word.
Thank God.
Yeah, so I'm starting to write cozy mystery and you can't cuss. I was like,
Wait.
this could be
What?
hard.
Oh, Nancy Stewart, right?
Yeah,
Oh man, how are you gonna do that?
no.
What, you can just the good place it. You can do fork and shirt and
Holy shirt balls. Yeah, you're right. That's smart.
yeah.
I managed it so far by just trying to channel like the proper me from when I was a kid.
She's in there somewhere, Nancy.
She doesn't get a lot of airtime anymore. So,
Oh my
I
God.
married a Marine. So, cursing is just sort of
Oh
like both my
yeah.
kids. It's very sad. My parents would be appalled if they were still around.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids are a lost cause too. They,
Yeah, I kind of revel in it.
it's just words.
Yeah. There's so much worse stuff they could be doing.
No kidding. Oh my God.
So, we kind of just don't worry about that. All right. Well, so you talked about kind of how you figure out your characters, but then I want to know like, do you put stuff on post-it notes or note cards? Do you have a wall? Do you have a whiteboard? What do you do? How do you plan it?
It's gotten a little more organized as I've gone on. Like this latest series that I wrote, I had this latest series called Love on Tap, and it's 4 books, and it's 4 siblings.
Such good titles, by the way.
Oh, thank you. um, the siblings sort of run a brewery in Asheville, North Carolina, and so each one has their own story and their own, couple. It's their own couple. Each book is their own couple. But there's also an overarching story to the whole thing. It's like a little bit of a mystery that gets solved at the end.
Oh, I
So
like that.
that I am never doing that again. I can't.
Right.
I'm never doing that again.
That's
That
what
was
I did in the Casper
so.
series. It was hard. Very.
It's so fucking hard. Oh my God. Like by the 3rd book, I was like, what did I do? What in the hell did I do?
And you have to go back and keep track of all the clues that you've
Oh,
dropped and who knows what. And I had a map, a treasure map.
oh,
And I was
geez.
like, oh shit. Once
Oh,
I
well, mine wasn't
realized,
like that. Jeez.
it's a bad idea.
Oh Lord, no, mine wasn't like that.
Well, so
But for that series, I actually was pretty organized.
you figure out that mystery
Yeah,
before we wrote book one.
right. So usually I don't know what's going to happen in book 2 or 3 when I start book 1, because book 1, for all I know, maybe it's going to be a standalone. Who knows? Like that's kind of how I used to do it. Like I didn't even plan ahead. So yeah, like I used to pretty much just know who the characters were going to be. Like, okay, I want a hot nerd, and he's like totally hot, but he doesn't know it, and he's a little bit bumbling, and he's got a new neighbor, and she's totally crushing on him, but he's crushing on her too, and they don't know they're crushing on each other. And so that's pretty much what I would go into the book with, and be like, okay, this is the story, and like I literally would not have anything else. Like,
Tropes? Like, I mean, obviously that's girl next door or hot nerd or whatever.
yeah, but that's it. Like I vague tropes,
Okay.
and then the story would just come, and the characters would just do what they were going to do.
And you
And
just literally sit down and start writing, and that's how it happens? Okay.
yeah, I don't do that so much anymore.
Okay. Okay.
Now I lay out what tropes I want to use, and I lay out the basic storyline of what's going to happen. But I in no way can plot like people do, where they know chapter this, chapter that,
Oh,
chapter.
great.
Do that.
Well, so like brass tacks, how do you, when you say you plan it out, do you like just write a couple paragraphs, like this is what's going to happen? Or
No, I do. I
you
do like kind of like bullet points. I'll
just in a
say,
document somewhere?
yeah, but then and I'll have it in the beginning of the Word document that I actually write the whole story in. So I'm always like I'm always scrolling back to the top. But without fail, it changes.
Yep.
I mean, without fail.
Yeah.
I will go back and read that bulleted list at like when I'm nearing the end of a book, and I'm like, oh my god, at about the halfway mark, this book completely changed direction from what it was doing.
Right. And do you ever go back and go like, oh, that would have been a good idea? I forgot I did that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think non-writers understand the concept of a character actually speaking to you, because I can't force a character to do something.
I agree.
It feels uncomfortable, and it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like that character. So if you're trying to force them into a box that they don't fit in, the reader's gonna know that. I mean, the reader's gonna be like, that doesn't sound very genuine for this character.
Right. Well, there's so many more writers like us, at least that I've spoken with so far. I'm excited to talk to somebody that writes the 30-page outline, and like, because how do you avoid that? How do you keep forcing them down that road? I guess because maybe that character speaking to you thing happens while you're writing the outline.
Maybe, but I have to tell you that there have been a couple times where I have known ahead of time that the writer did that. Like I didn't read it because the writer did that, but I just happened to know.
Yeah.
And I read the book and I was like, I didn't enjoy that. Like it didn't feel like it flowed. It felt forced. And
yeah. Well, I wonder about that. I mean, obviously that system works for some people.
Yeah.
And I have always envied plotters because I feel like
me too.
Everything in me wants to fill out a worksheet and like have a plan and a map and a guide and like, and I cannot work that way.
Well, but your cozy mystery is going to have to work that way.
You would think, but no. In fact, well, and I've been reassuring myself by listening to a lot of podcasts and reading, Facebooky things from lots of cozy mystery authors because I was very worried about that. And so I did try to plan it all out. But the more I talk to other writers, the more I realize there are plenty of cozy mystery and thriller authors that do not know how the book ends, or they know only like the beginning, the climax, and the end. And I was assured enough that I could go into it not even knowing really who the killer was. And I'm at 45,000 out of 60,000 words. Like I'm wrapping things up. And now I know what happened.
Oh.
I have had to go back and like kind of dash some things in and fill in a couple blank holes and change a couple things. But I do not think I'll ever be able to plan it all out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get better at it. I don't know.
If you figure it out, let me know, because I have no idea how people do that.
Well, here's the difference though. I think, 10 years into this career, I don't see that as a failing anymore.
No.
It's my process. That's just what works for me. And
yeah.
that's what I find so interesting about talking to other writers is like, because we all do it just slightly differently.
Yeah. Well, and I, like writing with Marika, she's not necessarily a plotter either, but she's much more of a plotter than I am. And like,
oh, really?
I've learned from her, okay, so I can do like, here's what's going to happen in the next 5 chapters. Like,
yeah. Well, and you can change it, right? As long as I feel like I've got the freedom to veer off of the plan.
Yeah.
Then it's okay to plan.
I have to say, I mean, sometimes I feel like we've got it kind of easy in romance because there is that formula that, the reader is expecting a certain formula. You have to deliver that formula to a certain degree. I mean, of course you can veer off a little bit here and there or whatever. But it's not, we're not forced to recreate the wheel.
True, but in a way we are, because we're all telling the same story every time, right? So the challenge I feel like is even greater for romance writers to tell a story that is somehow unexpected and surprising and fun.
What are your thoughts about this trend of the of nixing the third act breakup?
I was just coaching someone yesterday who was like, well, I'm not doing a third act breakup, so there is no grand gesture. And it takes a little bit for me to kind of twist my little brain around to be okay with that, just because
Yeah.
I think I am such a rule follower that that was just what I learned. That's how it works. But I've seen it done very successfully, so it's not required.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it's
Marika
weird
and I,
though. Like
what's that?
I think it's weird. Isn't that part of the fun of reading a romance? Is that like, oh no, that you feel when it's all gone to hell and they're
Yeah.
apart. Like, oh no. And
You know, Marika and I were talking about this though, about how you can have a third act breakup that's not a breakup. And so you're kind of straddle the line a little bit. Like circumstances just have the people having to separate because of no fault of anybody's. It's just the circumstance they have to. Like that's what we did in our first the hot flashes and hockey slashes. There it was a vacation romance, so
oh
at the
right.
end of vacation they each had to go home.
But that
And so,
is a breakup.
yeah. But I mean it wasn't the kind of thing that gets people mad like that was so stupid. That didn't have to happen. They just made
Yeah.
that happen because they needed that breakup, whatever, you know.
Well, and that's the danger if you are going to do a real breakup and you don't do a real breakup, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Then
god.
people are like, that's lame. Or
Um,
like the whole it could be a conversation thing.
oh, that one. Oh, people hate that so much, but I'm like, you know what? That's actually valid.
That has happened. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a couple of could have been a conversations, but
Oh god.
people are lame though. And like you get in a fight with somebody and you both say things and
Yeah.
like sure a conversation could fix it, but you both have to be mad for a while first. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's
I don't
that's
know. Well,
that's normal. Okay, well so let's go a little bit into like you've written the book. Oh, must ask, do you write in order or do you ever write a scene and then like throw it in somewhere?
sometimes we'll write like a section of dialogue that I know is going to come later because it just kind of hits me at the time. I'm like, this is how he's going to make it clear to her that she's special or something like that. You know, like I'll have it. And so then I know that later on, because it'll reference back to something earlier in the book that I'm writing at the time. And I'm like, oh, this would be a perfect callback, you know, it can be like, oh, blah, blah.
So
But
where
no,
do
I
you
don't.
put that and how do you remember to use it?
I just put it lower in the document so that I see it then when
That's
I have all sorts of notes that go lower in the document.
that's good. Yeah, that's always my big fear, and I found that it's a valid fear. Is that I will come up with some great idea, stick it over here, and then completely forget that I did that, and then find it later and be like, oh crap, now I can't use that. And like my brain is my biggest problem.
Same document, Nancy.
Well, I use Scrivener, so it's like there's stuff here, there's stuff there, it's all over. I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
not the most organized person. I'm a
Oh,
activator, achiever, um, and so I'm very ready, fire, aim. Like I just like to do stuff, and then later I'll be like, oh, that wasn't a good idea.
I did that. What is that?
The
The
strengths,
Gallup?
strengths finder.
Gallup?
Gallup, yeah.
I did that, and whatever strength it is that's responsible for organization was my last one.
Yeah, me too, probably. I don't know. I have good focus, though. I guess that's why I can channel all of my chaos into creating a book.
Oh God. Oh, I don't
um,
know.
well, so once your book is done, do you work at all like with a story coach or put it through a developmental edit, or do you just kind of go straight to lines and
You
copy
know,
edit?
I used to have a beta read. I used to have a couple beta readers. Um, I found that I did not like the book after I made changes. That I'm too much of a control freak, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and I probably should have a. I'm too much of a control freak. I know what I should do, but I can't allow myself to do it. Like
You have a lot of confidence in your vision. That's really good.
yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah. Because the characters and what they do and say, it's so personal to me. I'm like, no, that I can't change how they feel about this particular thing because that's not how they feel.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think that's actually really good. Well, so you put it out to your ARC team and kind of let them find the nitpicky stuff and then hit go after that?
Yeah, so I'll send it to my editor uh 2 days after my deadline every time.
Of course.
And then she'll say, she may as well just like copy and paste. It's fine, I got you. And then she'll get it back to me the day that I'm supposed to send ARCs out.
As long as you have this agreement.
And then I'll go through and, accept or reject all her changes or whatever. I'll, touch up a few things. And then I send it out to my ARC team. And then when my ARC team has it, then I will go and I will read the whole thing again. And I know I'm supposed to do this before I send it to the editor, but I go through and I read the whole thing again. I put it through autocrit.
You do?
Because I try to do a better job of I try to do a better job of the actual writing process. So not using fillers and
Well,
I take out.
autocrit is like story stuff too, doesn't it? If you want it to, isn't it supposed to like kind of be a developmental thing?
I don't know. I just use it for it analyzes your manuscript and says, you have, this many passive sentences and this many active sentences and this many adverbs and you've used the word just 3 million times, take out 2 million. So and it always says overused words, fuck.
I have a because I edit for other people, I use this thing called perfect it. I think it's like a word add-on, but it will always, because I edit romance mostly, fuck, lick, it always wants it to be click. And it'll say there are like 47 incidents of this. Should it be click? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure lick is correct.
Well, I told you that. You should know that it's not duck. It's
not shift.
God. I always get flagged for
cunt. It doesn't like cunt.
Oh, I don't really use that word very much, but I do like it. I just don't use it because I'm afraid to use it too much because I think it turns a lot of people off.
I mean, the Brits use it like it's Kool-Aid. Like, just, that's not
even. And I will definitely have a series where I go off the deep end, which was actually part of what I was going to do when I was considering a new pen name. I was like, I want to write the series that I want to write with no apologies, but I should probably do it under a pen name. But now I'm like, I'm just going to have to do it under me because I can't put the effort into another pen name. But it's going to be, that my goal is for it to have lots of cunty stuff in it. It's just going to be the cunt series.
That's what you should call it. It might make it hard to market. Just call it Count series. That's what it wants to be. All right. Well, so let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, marketing. How wrapped around the axle do you get at this point in your career? Like, what does a launch look like? What do you do for like a first in series?
Okay. Well, I took 2 years off during my menopause, the worst of my menopause. And so when I came back, I had to release a series. I had to start a new series, and that was rough.
Yeah.
And I just kind of have gotten to a point where I can't put so much into it because I feel like the ROI for the effort isn't there,
You're a KU author exclusively, yeah?
Yeah, I was wide. I was KU first, and then I was wide, and then when I came back from my hiatus, I went KU again.
Okay.
And so that was a couple years ago, like a year and a half ago. I don't even know when it was. I don't know when it was actually. Yeah.
That's okay.
So what I'll do is I'll book a promo company, but I've only been booking Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Colleen Noyes is the owner of that, and they have like a review service kind of a thing. It's like a book blast where they'll they post like a million times online about your book, which I don't know if it does anything or not, but they do it, and it's very nice of them to do it.
Is it strictly like Instagram, Facebook, or do they have
No.
Reels and TikTokers and
Oh
what?
yeah, they have. I don't think they have TikTok, which they should, but I don't think they have TikTok, but they do a lot. But my favorite part of it is that they have like a review team where they'll just offer up arcs to the review team, and then you get like an extra 50 reviews. So
nice.
And it's that's worth its weight in gold to me. So I don't really hire promotion companies like I used to for a release. They're the only one I've been using recently. I just don't feel like the impact is there as much anymore. Now, of course, if I could get something to go viral on TikTok, that would be great, but there's absolutely no surefire way of doing that. So
do you try? Are you spending time on TikTok?
Yeah, I go in phases. Like I have somebody who posts to 4 TikTok accounts for me. Like she posts like, I don't know, she posts maybe like 6 or 8 videos a week or something like that. I don't know.
Great.
And then I'll post on mine in fits and spurts. When I have a release, I'll post a lot, and then I get frustrated.
Have you ever had anything take off on TikTok?
No,
No, not at all.
no, I haven't. Not even remotely. So I don't know. I've never seen it affect my sales at all. Marika says she sees it affect her sales a lot.
Really?
So yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Suck at it.
Yeah.
I've taken all the classes. I don't know, but also like I'm very inconsistent. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. And I'll listen to somebody and get like all charged up and be like, I could totally do that. And then I'll make like 6 videos and I'll post them every day.
Oh yeah.
And once those are gone, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to make more. Like,
well, and then do you do the thing where you'll get like all psyched about it? You're like, oh, this, I've got a hook on this one. It's gonna kill. I've got the right song. I've got the right images. Oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And you spend like 2 hours making it, and then you post it, and it gets like 100 views and 2 likes.
Yeah, oh totally. And the last one that I posted and I was all excited about because it was like I'd been rejuvenated. I was going to win at TikTok now, and so I'm back. And I post something, and it starts like, it got a lot of views. Like it was up to 600 something, and I was all excited, like, ooh, this is taking off. And it got a comment, and I like so rarely get any comments. Comment, and it says, cringy AF. I was like, oh, can I delete that?
No. Okay, see, this actually feeds into my theory about it, that we're too old for TikTok.
That's what I'm afraid of. But I hate to say that because I think that age really is a state of mind. And what I saw with my parents was when they decided to quit adapting, that was when they really became old.
Oh.
And so I want to not do that. But I also have this other side of me that's like, I don't fucking have time for that.
Oh, right?
The old man that's in my head yelling, get off my lawn. It's like, I'm not TikToking.
Oh my God. That's,
so, yeah.
Yeah, I have that same kind of thinking. Like, I'll get psyched. I'm like, I have blue hair. I can freaking do this. And then I'll be like, what the fuck am I wasting my time on this for? Let the kids do this. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm like, I know publishing a new book will up my income. So
yeah,
why don't I stake that same amount of time and go do that? But
yes. Right? And that's something that you know how to do, and you know you have at least a baseline of what the success of that will be.
Yes. Yes. I know it's not going to go negative. Like it can only help. Whereas this, I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. And ads, you do Facebook ads?
Yeah, I off and on. When I was wide, I pretty much went off of them because I felt like they weren't working. In KU, I feel like they work better. But like
Amazon
right now, my ads are, what's that?
Amazon or Facebook?
Facebook, sorry.
Yeah.
Amazon, I can't get the cost per click to be worth it. It's too expensive. So really on Amazon now, I'm down to basically having like a pretty low ball bid for for my ads, but I have them there because any visibility is good visibility, and even if somebody doesn't click on it, they might see the book cover and then it might stick in their head. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I keep the Amazon ads up. But I don't hardly spend anything on it. I mean, I spend like $1 a day or something. I mean, it's
Yeah.
but the Facebook ads, yeah, I'll go when I have a release. I'll go in on Facebook ads, and then I always have some Facebook ad or other running, usually a first in series.
Yeah, me too.
So
Cool. All right. Well, so let's talk a little bit about mindset stuff before we say goodbye for today. So, there has been a huge sort of groundswell behind abundance thinking and sort of a very, if you ask me, woo woo kind of mentality shift among authors with this idea that if we just believe it, it will become. And I personally am very practically minded. So I'm very tempted to want to believe all of this because it sounds so amazing. But I also am same thing as my mentality with TikTok. I'm like, okay, but if I have this amount of time, does it pay better for me to work on something I know will pay off or go sit in a corner and think about how great it would be if I had $1 million? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So where are you on that continuum?
That's a tough one for me because I tend to keep an open mind about a lot of things. Like I believe in ghosts, and I believe in uh, I I believe in strange things that happen for like that things are fated, or I believe I don't know. I mean, I'm really kind of a open-minded person in that sense. So I can't dismiss it by any means.
Yeah.
But I will say for me, I try to keep a positive outlook. Like I tell my husband all the time, you're being too negative. You've got to think positively. Because I do think that makes you healthier
I think so
to
too.
not be negative. Um, and it makes you a happier person, just to, because he'll tend to like drown in, well, this is going to happen and then that's going to happen. I'm like, you didn't do that. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And just, but so, I mean, I am like that. But here's the thing with me with stuff like the manifestation and all that is, I have ADHD. I can't focus on anything. So for me to focus on trying to make something happen by thinking about it is impossible. Like, I just can't do it. I can tell myself, oh yeah, I'll set aside 10 minutes every day. I will last one day and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it won't happen.
So just
good for other people who do it, but
yeah. But so you embrace kind of a more general positivity, just
yeah. I mean, I don't, but I also don't operate under any illusions that like everything's going to be absolutely fabulous.
well, I think we're active participants. And so I think the part that I struggle with is the idea that just putting something out into the universe and asking for it to happen is no different than, me wishing that my dog would suddenly become really well trained without actually training him. I know that won't work. I tried that.
That's funny.
But I sort of going back to the thing you said about your husband, I've been listening to this book that Kelly Collins recommended called Level Up that is really interesting. And it so speaks to that negativity and how as human beings, our brains they naturally are more negative because they're protecting us from potentially bad outcomes, and how if we don't do anything, if we don't work on it at all, negativity is kind of where humans live.
Yeah.
And so to change that does take active effort. And that was something that I thought resonated with me because I always believe that if I'm not participating in the process, nothing's going to happen. So
yeah.
I think you're right.
I believe that book is on my Kindle.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it, but I have to listen to it. I can't read that kind of thing.
I hope to read it one day.
It's my gardening book. All right. Well, and then as far as physicality, because we sit here and we write and we, do our stupid marketing, and it's also sedentary. So how do you counter that? What do you do?
I don't.
Fair enough.
No, it's funny. I was just talking to one of my kids about this summer because they get off school on Thursdays. That's the last day is Thursday. He wants to go to the gym this summer, but he doesn't have a driver's license, and so I have agreed that I will take him to the gym every day, and which
Going to
means
stay
I.
there while he is there?
What'd you say?
Going to stay there while he is there and do gym things?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
deal. So I will stay there while he is there, and I will get on the bike because I'm an old lady and all my body parts hurt, so I can only do the bike.
that's fair. I think anything we do is beneficial.
Yeah, I'm like a walking injury. It's like I just got a cortisone shot in my shoulder. My toenail fell off. Like I just,
Well, maybe you'll find that if you start moving a little bit, then things will just naturally feel better. Or
I
maybe
know, yeah, yeah. I do need to get into shape because I'm 50 and my kids want me to be around. So, and I want to be around. So I need to.
there is that. Yeah. Well, and my new mantra as a woman over 50 is muscle. Like we start losing muscle so fast after
Yeah.
menopause. So anything you can do to preserve it keeps you from being that frail little old lady in the long run.
Yeah, I had an injury. I had a foot injury, and then on top of that, I got plantar fasciitis. And
Oh, it's the
this was like,
worst.
yeah, this was like 3 years ago, and I was off my feet for. So I was 47, and I was off my feet for probably a month, except for just like what you have to do to
Yeah.
get around or whatever. And oh my God, I tried to go to my son's indoor soccer game after that, and I put a foot up on the bleacher to step up on the bleacher. I almost fell over. Like my leg didn't have muscle to lift me up onto the
Yeah,
stuff. It's like, oh my God, what is this madness?
I
Like,
know.
so yeah, I've been kind of conscious of that. So I've been doing the making sure I can still balance and stuff.
Yeah. I
Pull
mean,
myself
the
up.
struggle is real, man. So,
It
well,
is.
good.
Oh,
I look forward to reporting on your gym activity this summer.
yes, yes, I will. I will keep in touch. I will give you a progress report.
Oh, good.
Hey, I just had quinoa for lunch, so I'm living the life here.
Ancient grains. Good job. My husband will not eat quinoa. He gets so mad when I make like because I'll go through phases where I'm going to cook healthy things for us. He's a big like muscle guy, protein guy, but not necessarily like healthy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he'll still eat a box of ding dongs if I bring it home. Um, so anytime I make quinoa, he's like, "Well, can we just have rice?" I'm like, "These are ancient grains. This is a superfood." He's like,
I
"Oh, ancient grains
right.
too." Plus, I'm like, "Ooh, it's so healthy."
You feel so. Oh God, it's so self-satisfying. You're like, look at me.
That's what my husband. He's always like, "You're just being a martyr. It doesn't taste good. You just want us to think that you're healthier than us."
Oh, my husband's the worst with anything that's healthy like that. He he broke his ankle like several years ago, and he was laid up. He could not do anything, and so I had to do stuff for him. So I was making him smoothies, and he loved these smoothies that I was making him. And then one day I didn't blend the smoothie quite enough, and he saw a little fleck of green in there. He's like, "Did you did you put kale in my smoothie?" I'm like, "Yes, I've been putting kale in your smoothie for the last week." And he's like, "I knew something tasted different. I knew of these." And he's just
There is a Jim Gaffigan skit about that where he's like at some buffet, it's church potluck or something, and he like has a bowl of chili and he's really enjoying it, and a lady sidles up to him. She goes, "You like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's really good." And she's like, "I snuck some kale in there." And he goes, "I wanted to throw the bowl at her." Oh, kale. So underappreciated. All right. So last question here, and then I will let you get on with your Wednesday. What kind of craft, like how do you bolster your knowledge? What kind of craft stuff do you focus on? And do you go to conferences and stuff?
okay. So I've been to RAM twice. I found it very beneficial. I've done a lot of like online conferences and stuff. I find them to be so interesting and full of all this information, but it tends to be information overload. And then I end up only implementing like 2 things, which I think is probably smart anyway. but but then I end up feeling like I have all this information I haven't used yet. Why am I spending my money to go get more information when I haven't even used the information I have?
Because it changes. You have to get new
It
information
does, yeah.
every year.
So I probably like I decided not to do any conferences this year, and I'm good with that decision. I might change my mind next year, and go see what's new. But yeah, I have so much information from those that I don't tend to read craft books at all because I can't focus on them anyway.
Yeah.
But I get such good information on things that I can try from other people, from other authors at conferences. And
who are some of your gurus? Like if they say something, you listen and go try it.
Well, I mean, pretty much anybody at RAM. Whatever Pippa Grant told me, I would like absolutely do whatever she said. If she told me to stick my thumb up my ass, I would stick my thumb up my ass because if that works, I will do it.
Okay. I'm going to talk to her next. I'll ask her if she thinks that might help.
Oh, she is putting my new release in her next newsletter though. So
that's good. Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the romance community is that it's a community. So how do you maintain those relationships with people? How do you meet new people?
As much as I don't like social media because it gives me anxiety, the socialization with other authors on a personal level is really gratifying. I do a lot of messaging with other authors, and I do a lot of regular texting with other authors because I have their actual phone numbers and I've met them in person. Yeah. And I'll talk on the phone sometimes, with some authors. And there's that when you're feeling kind of alone because you're working at your house and you're remote and you sometimes can be like, what am I doing? It is always nice to kind of have that camaraderie with somebody else who's going through the exact same thing.
For sure.
So, and then when you say, oh God, my release tanked in the second week, and then somebody else is like, oh man, that happened to me last time too, and then you're like, okay, all right, we're in this together.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, I'm not gonna keep you here, although I feel like I could chat with you for a lot longer.
I'm a chitter chatterer.
So yeah. Well, if you think of anything else, or actually while I still have you, is there anything we haven't said that you feel like you just want to throw out there to encourage?
You got me thinking with the whole positivity thing. I think that it's easy to let people get in your head. There are a lot of haters out there. And if we can just kind of, work together to silence the haters and just amplify the more positive voices, I think we'd all be a lot better off in this little author world.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Good note to end on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for chatting.
You can find story writing tips, tricks, coaching, and courses at our site, www.evidentinc.com. Get live feedback in our writing community at facebook.com/evidentinc. And find past episodes of Story Strategy at our YouTube channel. Story powers the world, and we can't wait to help you tell yours.